All right, welcome to the Valley 2025 Mid-Year Market Forecast. So I know it says market forecast, and it's more of like a market recap, what's happened so far year to date, 2025. And so that's what we're going to go through. We try to do this about twice per year, just so we have the real data on what's exactly going on in the market, what can we expect. Now, this is really helpful for a few different types of folks watching this. So if you're a real estate agent, this is obviously super helpful for you to have the data for you to use for your clients. If you're an investor, this is super helpful so you understand what's going on if you're thinking about purchasing, thinking about selling. If you're a home buyer, super helpful so you have the most relevant, up-to-date information. If you're a seller, same kind of thing. So this is what we're going to do on this. We're going to go through 4 different categories. We're going to go through residential, condo, multifamily, and land. And we're going to just talk through exactly what's going on in the marketplace. And we're going to go through that. Now, a few items of note on this. Number one is that this is all very data heavy. And so if you're bored watching this and you would just rather have the data, just reach out to me. I can send you this report so you can pick and choose the things that you want. This is also all from the multiple listing service. And so there's of course homes that are selling, investment properties that are selling that we don't have the access to because it's not on the MLS. And so just keep that in mind. This is from the MLS. And so we're going to jump right in and get to it. Okay, so how's the 2025 national housing market so far? How is the market in the Valley? And importantly, what action is this going to cause me to take? So the first one that we're going to look at is we're going to look at the residential summary, and we're going to see what's going on, Mat-Su Valley residential. So we always look back like 5 years so we can see the context of like, where does this fit in line with what's been going on? So as you can see on this, the bottom left, you can see 2025 volume. We're at $347 million worth of homes sold residential in the Mat-Su Valley so far this year, January 1st through June 30th. That's 20.7% increase in volume year over year. That's a really big increase. And you can see after a big decline in 2023 and then a small decline in 2024, we are now almost back up to 2021 sales. Well, we're above 2021 sales numbers at this point. Units sold, 788 units, 12% increase over last year. And then the average sales price is up as well, 7.3%. So average sales price of $440,000 here in the Valley. So if you're thinking about buying, age-old comment is, hey, if you wait 5 more years, homes are going to keep on going up in price. And we've seen that year over year over year over year. And so you can see that if you bought a home, an average priced home back in 2021, it was $345. This year it's $440. If you did buy a home back in 2021, you know that, and you now have that much more equity in your property. So that's the broad view. Now we're going to dive into some specifics so you can see exactly how this all shakes out. So the first one that we look at is the number of listings. So blue line represents active listings, yellow line represents sold listings, and we can see there's a lot of inventory on the market to choose from if you're a buyer, which is good. And you can see over the course of history, we have lower amount of active listings compared to times in the past, but still definitely higher right now. And so the amount of active listings was at a high of 512 here in June and a low of 373 in January. So pretty good range there. Definitely some homes to look at. Months of inventory. So we had a high of 4 months in February, a low of 2 months in April. And you can see that pretty low. And for context on this, anything under 6 months is what would be considered a seller's market. So the sellers have the upper hand. Days on market are lower. The prices are a bit higher. A balanced market would be right at 6 months. And then above 6 months is a buyer's market. So here in the Mat-Su Valley, it's a great time to sell a property. There's a lot of interest. There's lower inventory and homes are selling. So that's inventory. Days on the market, we look at this as well to see, well, how quickly are things moving? And you can see quite the range over the last 10 years that we pull up on here. And so far, this is from This is from the day a home hits the market until the day an offer is accepted. We had a high of 44 days in February this year, and then a low of 8 days in May and June. So it's still the case. If you want to get your home sold, hire a great agent, do the appropriate repairs, choose the correct price, and you can get an offer in a reasonable time. 8 days being the low here in May and June. Sales to list price, this shows how aggressive people can negotiate. And so it's not the case that you can ask a high price, get a low offer, and meet in the middle anymore. In fact, you can see they're bouncing back and forth all year between a low of 98% and a high of 100%, meaning sellers are getting between 98 and 100% of their last asking price when they go to sell a property. So the summary, all the data that we just went through right there. Units are up, volume's up, average sales price is up, active number of listings. We've got a good amount of active listings to choose from. Months of inventory is strongly in a seller's market. Days on market are really, really healthy. In fact, pretty low right now. And list to sales ratio, sellers are getting most of what they're asking for. So that's residential. We're going to shift gears here and we're going to take a look at condos. Now, this is a whole different story. And it's a whole different story because, well, there's not that many condos that are available here in the Mat-Su Valley. So you can see 2025, they're down 43% in volume. Only 8 of them have sold year to date, so down 43% in units. And the average sales price is $302,000, which is flat from last year. And you can see the trend here, a bit of interesting data just because there's not that many to look at. Number of listings, we had a high of 4 in April through June and a low of 2 here in February and March. Months of inventory, kind of fragmented data, but high of 4 in May, low of 1.3 in June. Days on the market, also quite fragmented. We had a high of 210 in January. This might have been a new construction one, and then a low of 4 in March. Again, really fragmented data, so we're not going to camp here too much. List to sales price, high of 108% in March, and then a low of 95% in January. And so these ones there, they're moving and selling at their asking price. So condo summary, units are down, volume's down, average sales price is down, and then the rest of the data that we just went through. Okay, shifting gears, we want to look at some new construction stuff because you might be asking yourself, well, how much of this is new construction and how does this line up? So here we have new construction that's sold in Anchorage as the blue line and then Valley as the red line. And so this gives us a good idea of kind of what does that look like. And this is so far this year, right? So 184 new construction homes have sold so far in the Valley. 38 have sold in Anchorage, and you can see a decline in both markets for what we have going on there. Year over year change, January through June in the Valley, we sold 184 this year, 2025, and then 149 last year. So the Valley is actually on an uptick compared to the same time period last year. And then Anchorage, 48 homes in 2024, 38 in 2025. Now, we are starting to see a lot of these new construction homes being finished as the summer goes along, so it'll be interesting to see this data in December when we do this report again. So you can see year over year change there, healthy growth in the Valley, and then a similar size decrease in Anchorage. So again, I'll be really curious to see what that looks like when we do this in December. Okay, moving on here to land. So we're gonna do the same thing now that you have the kind of the gist of how this goes. So volume is up almost 50% to 36 million, and units are up to 342 lots sold, so 12% increase in that. And the average price, this is the interesting one here, the average price of these new lot sales is 105,000, so 33% increase over last year. So you can see that there's a lot more land changing hands and a lot more of it at the higher price points. And we're gonna roll through this just like we did with residential. So side note here, if you've owned some land and you've owned it for a long time and never really thought about it, could be worth looking at this and seeing, well, how much is that land worth now as these prices have gone up? So number of listings, we had a high of 581 in June and then a low of 486 in January. So there's a lot of land available to look at. And then you can see how many are selling as the yellow line. Months of inventory, a high of 11 in January, low of 7 in May. And so even though there's a lot to choose from, it is turning over. And so not a huge amount of inventory there. Days on market, we always look at this, high of 111 in February, low of 20 in May. So this is average, oh, excuse me, this is median. We wanted to take out some of the outliers. So we go with median, and this is really, really healthy for land. List to sales ratio, we take a look at this and it looks like the low was 90.5%. And that was in April, and then a high of 95.8% in January. So summary for land is that there's a lot more land selling for higher prices, and the bottom line is correctly priced and marketed land is actually selling relatively quickly right now, and the values are up quite a bit. So if you're a buyer looking to buy land, this is kind of bad news. If you're a seller holding on to some land or thinking about selling it, it's a really good time to check this out and consider selling it if you haven't in a while. Moving on to the final category, we have multifamily sales. So this would be in the MLS, anything duplex on up. Now, as a reminder, in the MLS, a lot of multifamilies above 5 units trade off market. You know, they don't ever hit the market. So this is just representative, excuse me. This is just representative of what's available there. And so same look. We're going to talk about volume. So 34 million closed so far this year, which is a 50%, 49.24% increase over last year. 55 units, so 44% increase. And the average sales price is 621,000. Now, this is an interesting, very interesting space. If you've been paying attention to this, you know, there's duplexes right now that are selling in the 600s. Whereas rewind 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could buy a fourplex in the 600s. And so this is a really interesting market. And there's definitely some newer loan products that have allowed the owner occupant duplex, fourplex. There's not many triplexes trading hands, but duplexes and fourplexes, they're able to sell at these higher prices with owner occupants with some of the new loan programs. So take a look at this. If you're thinking about buying a multifamily and haven't looked at it in a while and think these prices are just too wild, I can't do it, give me a call or talk to your real estate agent, and they can walk you through some of the new programs. If you own a multifamily and you haven't looked at values in a while, man, you might have some really, really good equity built up in there. You might have some good value that you could unlock either through selling or doing a refinance, or, you know, there's some other options. So if you haven't looked at your multifamily in a while as far as values, it's a really good time to do that. Number of listings, we had a high of 46 in June and a low of 32 in January. So there's not a huge amount to look at. And you can see that on here. Months of inventory, a high of 8.25 in February, and then a low of 2.46 in May. And so again, anything below 6 is a seller's market. And so if you're writing offers in this marketplace, you better come with a strong offer. If you're listing a property in this space, price it appropriately, price it with what you know it's worth. Okay, days on the market. How long are they on the market? We had a high of 44 days in June and then a low of 9 days in May. So these are moving quickly. We're still seeing some properties hit the market and close or accept an offer in the first week. So that's really, really encouraging for what to expect there. Sales to list price. How strong is the negotiation? We see a high of 100.6 in April and then a low of 95 in January. So still really, really strong sellers market there. So summary for multifamily, big increase in units, big increase in volume, minor increase in average sales price. And that's what we see there for multifamily. So that gives us a pretty good idea of what exactly is going on in the marketplace in those 4 different groups. So you can see units and volume are up for most property types. Average sales price is climbing amongst most property types. low inventory, fast moving market, strong list to sales ratio, sellers remain in a bit of control, and there's still big opportunities in land and multifamily. So action items for you if you're watching this is just take heart, be encouraged. There's good stuff happening here. Disregard the news, and no disrespect to anybody that's in the news, but I bet you weren't seeing data like this if you were tuning into the weekly news. And that leads to number three, which is focus what you can control. Don't spend time focusing on national headlines or even statewide headlines. If you're in the Mat-Su Valley, pay attention to this data and specifically ask yourself, well, what action will this cause me to take? If you're in the industry, how can you help your clients with this? If you're thinking about buying or selling, how can this information inform those decisions? And then just friendly reminder, if you are in the industry, just increase your level of professionalism, bring the love and great service to your clients. So lastly, if you want a copy of this, I was rolling through this. It's a lot of data. If you'd like this and you'd like to ponder it, just reach out to me and we can get you a copy of this whole slide deck with the sources and all that. So thank you for watching. Hopefully this was insightful and causes some action for you.